Hey, what's up everyone? So in this video we are going to see how we can use Azure backend configuration or Terraform backend configuration to store our state file in Azure storage account. So when you are using Terraform, it is not recommended to store your state file in the same working directory. So let's take an example that for now we are just creating this folder. So these folders are nothing but our configuration directory or the current directory, and inside this folder we are just using our main.tf file for creating the resources, and then we are storing the terraform.tf style file in the same directory. So if you're creating resource group, we are storing that in the resource group directory. If we are creating subnet, then we are storing that terraform.tf state file in subnet directory. This is not the right way, or this is not the recommended way to store that tf state file, because when you use Terraform, you will always use some DevOps tools, something like Azure DevOps or AWS DevOps or Jenkins, and you will integrate this Terraform files in CI/CD pipeline for an execution. So there obviously you will use either agent pool VMs, or you will use a containers or a Docker to run this particular configuration. So it is not recommended at all to store that state file in the same directory. So you are using Azure, then store that state file into the storage account, or if you are using AWS, then store that in S3 bucket somewhere in the remote location. So let me go back to the documentation page of Terraform. So if you are using Azure RM, then we have this backend configuration where you can store the state file in the storage account. So this is the example of your backend configuration. I will provide this link in a description, so you can copy that link from there and go ahead and check that the different options that Terraform is giving you to store the file and their configuration state. So this is how you can use with Azure CLI or a service principal. So you can actually configure your backend configuration something like this. So this is our Terraform blog, the main blog, and inside that you can use backend and then Azure RM, and you have to provide the 4 attributes and their values. So first is the resource group name of your storage account, then storage account name, your container name, and the key. And key is nothing but your actual terraform.tf state file. Okay, and there are a lot of configurations are available on this web page, so you can go ahead and check that. So now let's take an example that let's take an example of the subnets. Okay, so I have already deleted this subnet using Terraform destroy. So if I go back to terraform.tf state file, this file is completely empty. So now we are going to run this file again, and I will store that Terraform state file not into the same directory, but I will store that in Azure storage account. Okay, that is the recommended way. So to do that, first we need to have a storage account. So let me go back to the Azure portal. Let me go to the storage account, and I will create one storage account over here. I will give the same resource group that we are using. So this is resource group 1, and I will use STS location. You can use any other location if you want. Let me give some unique name. Okay, so this is our storage account name. We are going with standard and LRS. Then click on next. Okay, TLS 1.2. okay, and here on the data protection, I'm just enabling these versioning for blob storage, so you can automatically maintain the previous version of your blob recovery and restoration. So this will help you to maintain your Terraform state file very efficiently. Okay, so I don't want to apply any tags. Let me go ahead and review this. Validation successful, and let me go ahead and create this one. Okay, so our deployment is completed. Let me go to storage account, click on refresh. And here we go, we have the storage account created. So I will click on this, then I will go to the container and I will add one more container over here. Use Terraform. Okay, and go ahead and create this one. So we have this blob container Terraform over here. Okay. Now let me go back to this documentation page. And from here, I will copy this backend configuration. Let me copy this one. Now I will go back to my Terraform Visual Studio code, and we have to write that inside this Terraform block. So we have one more sub block required provider, and inside after this required provider, I will use backend block. Okay. And here I'm using Azure RM. Okay. And then I need to write the resource group name. So let me click on this, and this is our resource group name. And the storage account name, this is my storage account name. And then container name, and let me go to the container. Our container name is Terraform. And the keys, so key is nothing but our terraform.tfstate file name. So you can terraform.tfstate is the default name that Terraform generate, and if you don't want to use this name, you can use your own name. So I'm just using subnet.tfstate. Okay, and that's it. So remember that we are using Azure CLI for authentication purpose, and we are doing all this activity, the subnet and storage account and storing this file in a same subscription. Okay, so in case you are not using Azure CLI, you want to do the authentication using service principal, there are other ways that you can follow, and those are provided into the documentation. So this is how you can actually configure the backend. And let me save this file. And if I go back to the virtual network that we created, and here if I click on subnet, we don't have any subnet configured over here. Okay, now we have this subnet configuration created, and let me go ahead and delete this one. We don't need this file at all. Now we have this configuration, and we have also a backend configuration. So let me go ahead and go to this subnet directory. I will use Terraform init once again. So it will initializing the backend, and it will check everything is right. And now let me go ahead and run Terraform plan. So previously I just deleted that terraform.tfstate file because I'm not using that over here. I'm just using this for a demo purpose. But don't delete the actual terraform.tfstate file or any tfstate file in your production or dev environment. Those files are very, very important. Okay. So, and when you are actually creating Terraform using CI/CD pipeline, then it's better to store that on the remote location. So here you can see that it's actually creating these two subnets, and that is what I want. Let me go ahead and write Terraform apply auto approve. So it will go ahead and create that two subnets. So if I go back to the portal, I don't have any subnets created in this virtual network. So it's creating that, and you can just see that it's actually taking the resource group and vnet from the variable, and we have this subnet dot variable over here. So we have provided those detail in this variable file. So 2 resources is added. Let me go back to virtual network and click on refresh, and yes, these 2 subnets created successfully. And if you can see in this subnet folder, inside the subnet folder there is no tf-state file is created. Okay, so you can just note that if I switch back to virtual network, you can see that there are terraform.tf-state file is created. Even on resource group we have tf-state file is created, but on subnet it's completely deploy the resources, but we don't have any state file created. Now let me go back to the storage account, and I will go to the container, the Terraform container, and here you can see that subnet.tf-state file is saved in this particular container. So this is how you can actually use backend configuration, this particular backend configuration inside your Terraform block to store your Terraform tf-state file. We will see in the upcoming video how to call this particular file again in your Terraform main block and how to use that state file in upcoming video. And here also you will get the versions detail. So let me download this version. And here you can see that this subnet name 1 and subnet name 2 is successfully created, and this all are the details of the subnet. So this is nothing but your JSON file. So you can copy this JSON code on your notepad++ or the Visual Studio Code, and then you can check that. Okay, so this is all for the Terraform state file and how you can store the Terraform state file in storage account. And in next video we'll see how we can use output blocks, and also how to call this particular state file in your next configuration in your Terraform, and how can use those values. Thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned for next video.